Good afternoon. This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical Productions in the Garden of Eden. Today we are going to interview Eve, better known as the wife of Adam. She seems to have run into some trouble for eating some fruit from a tree in the middle of the garden. Let's talk to Eve. Eve, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Eve, I see you've been crying. What has happened here in the garden, and what does God say about this?
Well, I was tricked. I saw the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the middle of the garden. I then heard the serpent whisper to me. He told me that the fruit was good to eat. I saw that the fruit was good for food and pleasing to the eye, so I took it. I ate some and I gave some to my husband Adam.
So, what was wrong with that?
Well, Adam had told me that God had told him we must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil or we will die. But the serpent came along and told me a different story. He said that if you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good from bad. This is quoted in chapter 3, verse 4 in Genesis. So I took some, I ate it, and I gave some to Adam.
Then what happened next?
The Lord asked us, "Did you eat this forbidden fruit?" I said, "The serpent deceived us." And I ate it. And then the Lord cursed us all. He cursed the serpent to crawl on his belly. He cursed Adam to only be able to eat through painful toil and only eat from the plants of the field all the days of his life. And for me, that was the worst.
What was it that it was the worst?
God told me, and this is in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16, "I will greatly increase your pains during childbirth. Through painful childbirth, you will have all of your children. That my desire would only be for my husband, and that he would rule over me."
That does sound terrible.
It is. I'm pregnant now, and if we have a son, we're going to name him Abel. And if we have another son, we're going to name him Cain. But for me, it's the painful childbirth that's the worst.
Well, I don't know what to say, but that's the way the Lord wanted it. You have my sympathy, Eve. This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical Productions saying, we know the origin of childbirth pain. Good afternoon.
So my name is Goldie, the serpent, in the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. I didn't get to tell the story of Eve and the forbidden fruit from my point of view. You can see from the video that I tried to speak into Pamela's microphone, but she kept pulling it away. I tried to warn Adam, but he didn't listen to me. And Eve didn't understand what I was saying because I was talking in the snake accent. Now no one is going to know what I said exactly to Eve, and she replied in some kind of mumbo-jumbo, so I was misrepresented. I was cursed. So there.
Good morning. This is Pamela Bluewater from J&S Biblical Productions. I'm here today with Mary Beth Violet from the Church of the Open Window to discuss the story of Eve in the Garden of Eden that was just portrayed in the video by J&S. Welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
So we saw the true story of Eve in the Garden of Eden from chapter 3, and I would like to discuss how this started the concept of original sin that so pervades Christianity. Would you give us the origin of original sin, as it isn't mentioned in chapter 3 of Genesis or in any of the translations? So does the term come from God, or is it a man-made concept?
Well, the origin of the metaphor original sin, also called hereditary sin, is a Christian belief that the state of sin in which all humans has existed come about when Eve ate the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it was promoted by St. Augustine, who was a bishop from 396 to 430 AD. His doctrine about it dominated Western church teachings ever since.
Then is it required to believe from chapter 3 that all men are sinners from birth, even though they weren't born thousands of years ago?
Yes. The Roman Catholic Church followers are taught that the fall of Adam and Eve for eating the forbidden fruit corrupted the entire natural world, including human nature, causing all humans to be born sinners because of Adam and Eve.
Okay. Let me ask, do all Christians believe in original sin?
No. Baptists, for example, do not believe that a loving God condemns anyone for a sin they did not commit. And Jewish people certainly do not take on the guilt that comes from Eve in chapter 3.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Are there any other Christian denominations that don't take on original sin?
Yes, the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, the founder prophet Joseph Smith said, "We believe that men will be punished for their own sins and not for Adam's transgressions." Therefore, they do not believe in the idea of original sin, that all human beings are tarnished with the sin from birth.
So everyone seems to have a different take or spin on original sin. What do you have to say about Jesus? Does he have an opinion on this subject?
No, nothing has ever been found that Jesus spoke of original sin. The concept came about 300 years after his death, and sins against God, however, will lead to separation from God, and this is not the same as original sin as inherited from Eve.
Well, there we have it, the true story of Eve and the forbidden fruit. This is Pamela Bluewater for J&S Biblical saying, please reread Genesis chapter 3 for yourself and decide what you want to believe. Good morning.
What are your thoughts on today's story? We'd like to know. So, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel, J&S Authentic Biblical Productions. Whether it's the Word of God through parables, true stories illustrating parables, or true stories in the life of Jesus Christ with commentary, you can see them all by subscribing to the most comprehensive collection of videos of biblical stories for you and your family. Have a blessed day.